Hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Hutchings, and this is Mr. Hutchings History. Today's lecture is for Unit 4.6 Internal and External Challenges to State Power, and this supports the AP World History program. Our time period is 1450 to 1750. Our themes are governance, social interactions and organization, cultural developments and interactions, economic systems, and humans and the environment. The historical reasoning skill for this episode is comparison. The English made them drunk and then cheated them in bargains. So wrote John Easton, a colonial observer, describing how deceit and land hunger helped ignite Metacom's War, known also as King Philip's War, in the 1670s. That single sentence captures a pattern seen worldwide during this era. As empires grew, resistance followed. Between 1450 and 1750, subjects, slaves, and settlers all rose against expanding state power, sometimes to defend autonomy, sometimes to reclaim dignity. Why do empires always face resistance from within? It's because every empire depends on control, and control creates inequality. The struggle for autonomy, economic, cultural, or spiritual, is universal, linking this topic to governance and social organization. In 1623, Anna Nzinga became ruler of Ngongo in present-day Angola. Facing Portuguese slave raids and pressure from neighboring tribes, she initially allied with Portugal, even converting to Christianity and accepting the governor as her godfather. But when Portugal broke its promises, Nzinga turned against them. She forged a new state in Matamba, welcomed escaped slaves, and formed an alliance with the Dutch to fight the Portuguese. Her diplomacy, intelligence, and resolve made her one of Africa's most remarkable rulers. How did Nzinga turn European rivalry to her advantage? She exploited imperial competition. By playing the Dutch and Portuguese against each other, she safeguarded her people, an example of political resilience under the theme of governance. Russia's challenges came from within. As Western Europe gradually ended serfdom, Russia deepened it. By the 1600s, peasants were largely bound to the land and their landlords, forming a population of near slaves who fueled agricultural production and military supply in Russia. South of Moscow, runaway serfs called Cossacks formed independent communities on the steppes near the Black Sea. Skilled horsemen and fierce fighters, they alternated between rebellion and service, defending the empire at times, defying it at others. Why would runaway serfs later fight for the same empire they fled? Because freedom and survival were intertwined. Serving as mercenaries offered protection and opportunity within the same system that oppressed them, reflecting contradictions in social organization. In 1774, a Cossack named Yemelin Pugachev claimed to be the dead husband of Catherine the Great. He rallied peasants, ethnic minorities, and fellow Cossacks to rebel against her rule. At first, his army seized territory between the Volga River and the Ural Mountains. But within a year, Pugachev was captured and executed. Catherine responded by tightening control, granting nobles more power over serfs to secure their loyalty. The rebellion failed, but its echo lasted. Russia's rulers learned to fear their own peasants. Why did rebellion lead to greater repression? Because rulers equated revolt with instability. Catherine chose noble loyalty over reform, showing how governance often prioritizes power over justice. In South Asia, The Marathas, a Hindu warrior confederation, fought a 30-year war against the Mughal Empire from 1680 to 1710. They defeated Mughal armies and established the Maratha Empire, which lasted until 1818. This victory ended Muslim Mughal dominance in India and reasserted regional and religious identity. Why did the Marathas succeed where others failed? Because they united local identity with military discipline. Their fight was both political and cultural, defending Hindu sovereignty in a Muslim ruled land, blending governance and cultural interaction. In 1680, in the deserts of present day New Mexico, the Pueblo and Apache peoples rose against Spanish colonialization in the Pueblo Revolt. They destroyed churches, killed hundreds of settlers, and expelled the Spanish for 12 years before reconquest. The revolt was both religious and political, a defense of indigenous spirituality and indigenous land against forced conversion and labor. What do religious uprisings reveal about colonial rule? That empire sought not only territory, but empire sought souls. Suppression of belief provoked deep resistance. Faith became a form of rebellion under cultural and social themes. In the 1600s, enslaved Africans in Jamaica escaped plantations and formed independent settlements in the mountains. Known as Maroons, they fought decades-long wars against the British. Their leader, Queen Nanny, united rival groups into a confederation that negotiated treaties recognizing Maroon autonomy. In other parts of the Caribbean, similar communities arose, testimonies to the will to survive in face of slavery. How did Maroon societies challenge empire without overthrowing it? They carved freedom within captivity. By sustaining hidden independent states, Maroons showed that resistance could coexist with endurance, an enduring lesson in social organization. Resistance wasn't limited to the enslaved. In 1663, in Virginia's Gloucester County Rebellion, enslaved Africans and white indentured servants conspired to win their freedom. Authorities discovered and crushed the plot, but it showed shared discontent among oppressed groups. Meanwhile, Metacom's War from 1675 to 1678, the last major native uprising in New England, devastated towns and ended with the defeat of the Wampanoag people. These revolts exposed fault lines in Britain's colonial order. Why would enslaved Africans and European laborers unite, even briefly? It's because exploitation crossed race and status. Shared oppression created common cause, an early sign of social awareness beneath empire. In 1688, religious tension ignited in England itself. The Catholic King James II sought to reverse Protestant reforms. A group of nobles invited his Protestant daughter Mary and her husband, William of Orange, to invade Britain. James fled, and William and Mary ascended the throne in what became known as the Glorious Revolution. It was largely bloodless, but it changed English governance forever. Parliament gained supremacy over the monarchy, and future kings were required to be Protestant. How did this political coup differ from colonial rebellions? It replaced violence with institutional change. While other revolts sought freedom, this one sought balance between king and parliament, making a step toward constitutional government under the theme of governance. Across continents, rebellions shared familiar causes: economic exploitation, religious suppression, and political exclusion. But their outcomes diverged. Some secured autonomy, others provoked harsher control. What unites Anna Nzinga, Queen Nanny, and Yamalian Pugachev despite their differences? Each fought imperial authority through the means available. Nzinga through diplomacy, Nanny through guerrilla warfare, Pugachev through open war. Together, they represent a global pattern of resistance that challenged empire from within and without. Using comparison, we can note the cause: expansion of empire and centralization of power. The effect: local revolts, religious wars, and new political models. The short term effect: bloodshed, repression, and shifting alliances. And finally, the long term effect: gradual movement toward autonomy and reform. What does resistance teach us about power? That no empire is absolute. Power invites defiance, and defiance reshapes history. From Ngongo to New England, rebellion was the heartbeat of this age. Empires rose on conquest, but they endured only by negotiation. Each revolt, from Nzinga's diplomacy to the Glorious Revolution, reminds us that state power is never uncontested. Are revolts failures if they don't win? No. Revolts reveal the limits of domination. Even when crushed, they plant the idea that power can be challenged, a lesson that outlives the empires themselves. I'm Mr. Hutchings, and you're listening to another episode of Mr. Hutchings History. Until next time, stay curious. History matters.